Hello. Hello.
Maybe like go in the other room and see if you can hear me. Hello. Hello. Oh, it's off. Hello.
Welcome to first word circus of fall semester.
Yay. Oh, you're good.
Good. Is it just playing straight to the laptop?
Yeah.
Okay, so. Okay. Well, hopefully
Feel
people
good.
will be really quiet. There's gotta be some type of like weird magic you could do.
I'm sure there is. I just haven't figured it out yet.
Maybe
Some more about that later.
we get like a second mic. We get like another cable. Just like run it right here or something. That might be too loud though. This works. This is good.
Yeah, as long as you can hear it, it's fine. If you would, maybe you could like sit if you're
It's good.
there and like if somebody is on the chat.
Oh, like respond.
Yeah.
Hello.
Or not necessarily respond, but like say if they say like can't hear,
Oh, yeah.
then
Okay. Yeah.
you
It's
can
already.
like either speak louder or. Yeah, just give me some motions.
Cool. Thanks for laughing.
Never gone live on YouTube before, so.
YouTube doesn't have like a time limit, right? Like you can.
No, I don't think so. I hope not.
I'll check. Oh, 12 hours.
Oh, then yeah.
Hopefully, as long as we don't have too many open-minded people. Yeah, they're like lining up outside the door. Then we'll get a little worried. Oh, I don't know if we get worried. It depends on if they're good.
Well, 2 pages are 2 minutes, but then there's like 50 people signed up.
You got this.
Oh, there's a big lag.
Yeah, I mean that's not a problem.
Yeah, if they're watching it.
Yeah.
Wait, now it's live. I just refreshed the page.
Oh.
Or, no, it's library, but not that much library.
What is it?
About 6 minute lag.
Yeah.
6 second lag.
Interesting.
That's all right. Anybody who's watching from home won't know.
We'll just be like, wow, it's so immersive. Oh, thank you. Nice. Dude, your cable is.
I have a cat.
Got it.
Howdy.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice
Come on.
to see you.
Good. How are you?
From when I saw your email.
Oh, yes, I
Yeah,
saw
I
the
think, I
response.
think it's fun to use dialogue. Maybe you could also, just thinking like, tie it in with something else, like, is the dialogue effective? Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
That makes
maybe
sense.
having that modifier. Because I know, like, dialogue can exist, but like, it's realistic,
Right. That makes sense. I was awesome. I wrote the paragraph already.
Oh, good.
I'm like blanking on the other two that I decided on, which is why I'm pulling it up. But I was kind of doing. Let's see. I have like a maze of folders to get to all my stuff. Yeah, the other ones I was doing is characterization and setting, and
Yeah.
I feel like even in the paragraph I was talking about like dialogue as it means towards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that.
That works. Okay. Because I did the first two, and then I was like, I'm not really sure what else I'm like good at.
Right.
Oh yeah, that may not be enough. Sure. I'm gonna grab some right now. Is this what the gallon looks like? Is
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I have a huge favor to ask of anybody in this room. I got locked out of my account and can't print my piece for tonight. Can I email it to somebody so they can print it for me?
Sure. Where do you need to print it?
I just need to print it so I can read it tonight. I tried going to the library and I locked out I couldn't log in.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you can tell me where to print it to.
Okay. That's how are you? Good. The only way I know how to print is to go to the library, log on to your Gavin account.
Okay.
and print it to your computer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good to see you outside of the writing. Yeah.
Would you like to move charge it up in next time?
Sure. Would you be interested in signing up for the other
Yeah.
one? Okay, sick.
That was the idea.
Nice. Here, let me. Oh, is that what you're doing? Okay, awesome. And then I'm assuming you're on the email list.
Probably. I didn't get an
That's
email
awesome.
about this, but
Oh, you didn't?
next time this.
Oh, sure. There used to be a table here.
I mean, thank you.
Oh, well, yeah.
We can do it for like
Yeah.
here, I guess. Yeah. And then,
Love your
it's-
skirt. Thank you.
It's 2 minutes. 2 pages. What was it? 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Or 2 pages, whichever comes first. Got it. So I start reading really, really fast.
I got the good stuff. You're gonna use it.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Hi, David.
Hello.
Oh, I just put it up there with the thing.
Hey Maya,
Hello.
how you doing?
Good.
So for future reference, is there a trash can?
I wrote like a page last
There
night
should be
All
one.
right.
on my paper.
All right.
So we're making progress.
Good. On a Saturday night, no.
Yeah. Well, I was planning on doing it earlier, but
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. So you're reading today,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And who else?
and then Christy and Nadine.
And Edie. Okay, cool.
What order do you have this?
I think it was Nadine, Christie, you, but I can adjust it.
No, that's perfect.
And off with the bang.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I just go first just to get it over with, but today I'm like, okay, I kind of want to just
we
like
want to be the standardization.
chill for a
Yeah.
second. Yeah.
You have done it before.
Yeah.
And Nadine has done it before. So I figured I could put you first and last. Did it? Has Christine? I think she did an open mic, but I don't know if she actually.
Yeah, I don't think she did this
did
one
yet. So I figured I'd put her in the middle for less pressure.
I like it.
I like the little circle.
Yeah.
A little more.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really can like use connections and-
Been a while since they did the setup correctly.
Yeah.
They did it this time, so that's awesome.
You guys gonna do open mic?
I signed up.
Oh, good. Good. Rowan?
I'm not sure. Are you doing it, David?
I'm not. So I can't really harass you if you don't.
I think
You should do it.
I'm doing it next month, or like I'm speaking next month.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you're reading? Oh,
Yes.
Too.
So give
There
give
you
the
go.
readers a little taste, you know?
I intentionally did not bring anything. That was a long ass week
Ugh.
Fair.
that ended with a 10-hour day at the conference yesterday. So
Oh, you went to the conference?
Yeah.
What was it?
it was cool.
Yeah.
The first night was a little, well, like they had like a, they said they called it a performance, but it's really like 8 people reading, and 1 people singing, one person singing,
It's the best charcuterie
and they
board
had
I've seen in my life.
horrible
dude,
mics.
wait, is
so
this
you couldn't
at Wana?
understand anything.
That's
What
crazy.
conference was this?
This is like shit
This
to
was the
aspire
Writers
to.
Association of Northern Appalachia.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and it was in
awesome.
Wheeling. It was in this really cool
Charcuterie.
space.
Oh my gosh.
It was heaven.
That was
Right now, it's
amazing.
so heaven.
Why would you go to any
So good.
readings?
And I
Also-
prepared for open mic there, but it was
Also,
like
someone gave me tomatoes.
nobody could hear anybody. And they didn't
Oh.
feed us. Like it was
Oh.
like
It's bizarre.
8:30 at night, and they gave us like little vegetable plate from Giant Eagle.
I guess they assumed people would, well, Kroger, you know, Giant Eagle, right? I guess they assumed people would eat before or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. The first time I went to Kona, they did that. They had popcorn, and everybody complained in their evaluations.
They had bags of
So
popcorn,
they-
too.
The next year, they ordered pizza and stuff.
I don't know
Okay.
if they fed us like thoroughly at Kona night one. I feel like we went to the grocery store.
We did.
It was
Yeah.
snowing. And like we had to like remember we had to like get food and we were like piecing together meals because they did not have like a they had some stuff but it wasn't like substantial dinner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
At least they had good breakfast and lunch the night on Saturday.
Yeah.
I didn't get their lunch that they had because my favorite place was right next door, but
Yeah.
we
But Saturday was real fun.
That's good.
Yeah. Like I feel like
I went to Tessa's presentation.
Yeah.
Oh, was
And
it
I
good?
wrote like 2 pages.
Tessa was so nervous, but they did awesome.
Oh,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
aren't they doing it on teaching
The
in
language or the fact
Oh,
The teaching
the teaching
is
one's in October.
It's right Youngstown.
Yes, that's right.
But they never did a conference presentation before. And
It was really awesome.
That's so cool.
And it
That's
was
awesome.
put in a good group with the other
Mhm.
readers as well.
Yeah, I turned out to be with these editors of this book I'm going to be in, who I had never met in person. And that book sounds pretty cool.
It does.
That's really cool.
That second reader was so good.
Yeah,
I was like engaged so fully with
yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
the one you were telling me about? Is that the one you were telling me about?
No, that was the workshop. The second one read like from her short essay
Okay, that's
or something. Yeah.
And Laura Jackson did a workshop on how to write humor.
Oh yeah, there were some really
I
good
didn't
ones.
make
Yeah.
it to that one, but Danielle did. So
Yeah.
she took notes.
That's awesome. It's
Yeah, that's what we should do. Are you doing AW? Are you doing AWP?
I've been to.
Okay, yeah, it was like, that's what we should do at AWP, everyone should like split up
Mm.
and then take a bunch of notes and we can all share it.
When is AWP?
It's over spring break, so it's
Okay.
like March 3rd.
That's actually so good.
Yeah, it works out well.
I'm from Baltimore, and it's in Baltimore.
Oh, there
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
That's perfect.
Danielle was also from the West Direction.
Oh, do you know where she's from? Okay. She coming here?
She should be.
You talking about Danielle?
Yeah.
She always says Central Maryland. I don't know the name of the town.
But I think close enough to Baltimore that we can stay at this.
Her mom teaches at Hopkins.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm from Towson, so like 20 minutes north. But yeah, I was thinking like whenever it was, I just go home that weekend, but over spring break things.
I wonder when they're gonna do Wakana, because they did Wakana over spring break last year.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they'll change that. AWP.
I don't know. The first time I went to Wakona was at the same time as AWP, which I thought was a really bad idea.
Oh, hopefully they don't do that.
So like,
I love Oklahoma, but I'm going to Aiden.
Yeah, like AWP is not always this close to us, so I'm like, I really wanna go to that.
yeah,
It's the writers' conference. So there's,
Oh, okay.
there's two feuding groups. They
Okay.
hate each other.
I think there was a splintering in the beginning, and then they just
Yeah.
their own.
Interesting.
If I had to base it off of how the WANA people talked about it in David's class last semester, I'd say there was some tension.
Yeah.
Wow. Theoretically, if we want to go to AWP, how do we?
What?
If I want to go to AWP, how would I? Touch?
It's I think it's like $90 for student registration.
Okay.
Yeah,
Have you already like registered and stuff?
Not yet.
Not yet.
if you register before like November something, it's really cheap.
Okay, because I'm from Philly, so I could definitely take the train, like stay
Oh,
home
yeah.
over that week and then
And
take the
like,
train.
in,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's like 70 or
Did
75.
you get your AWP membership?
Yes, yeah, I set that up.
Sometimes the program has money to help with it.
Mhm.
Not always, but
There's also like grants and stuff, even through Chatham. that
yeah,
you
that's
can
true.
apply for.
That's true.
So,
Okay.
It is 6, but I might give like another 5 minutes ish.
yes.
Does anyone else?
How was the conference?
So we're not having like
Did you end up going
the
full like
former second
or
years.
no readings?
They're still on the list. I don't know if I have access to their emails. Do you know?
Oh, probably not.
not necessarily, but Sheila added, I think she added everybody to the
That's awesome.
invitation for the brunch.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I can copy and paste that.
so check that list and ask
Is that
her,
Tessa? Is that
also like,
like
Tessa and Elias and Ashley and Brenna are all teaching at Chatham, so they have faculty emails.
Okay. I should update those. 'Cause I put in what I had, but I don't know if all of them
We
are
went to this like
correct. So
Italian place and they had like all the group
we'll see.
and stuff. Yeah, that's really cool. She's supposed to come here, but she's good. You might see her again, because I think
this.
But yeah, that's fun. So I'll tell you when you get back.
I'm not the only undergrad here. Yeah.
Are you here for Sheila's?
I'm just here.
Just here.
I mean, maybe, potentially.
You have plenty of options.
Yeah, I go to every event and then eventually I have to write about them.
Yep.
And I have to pick one. I don't think I can write about it. I'm like too busy this week to write about this one.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes I just like take notes of the event and then write about it later to the best of my ability.
yeah, that's a smart plan. I don't really think that smart usually. I just like go to an event and write it that night. Like,
It's like you have your own way of working.
oh,
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
This is him.
Hi.
This is David.
Hi.
Yeah, but just, yeah.
Oh, hi, I'm Rowan.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
and Maya
Nice to meet you.
and Madison.
And Nadine.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. There is an open mic. If you're at all interested. I can't batch you because I'm not doing it this time, but
You always read it the first one
I always
every
read
year.
it. I know, it's gonna be a tradition now. Although last year, when I read, I had never been to one before. And so I feel like that was worse.
Yeah. You were so confident though. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, yeah.
We'll wait a little bit for Christina and Sakina to get back. Because Christina had to print out everything.
from like a side quest. It's a nice little side quest.
So you're live stream
You
people.
went through the first years.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm taking the craft, not craft, I would keep on
Oh,
that. I'm taking the reading
Oh,
class.
okay. Oh, so you know.
So I'm
first
so
year.
lucky I get to like
That was
Yeah.
see everybody.
I'm taking craft with them.
Oh,
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
So we just like swap. for
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
How's it been?
Good. I love that craft. I'm like, sure wish I had taken it a while ago. But,
It's alright.
you know,
Better late than
better late than never.
David, have you been working on your thing for this week yet or not?
I haven't had a chance. No.
I haven't either. I sent her an email because I kind of don't want to use the thing I wrote in class.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for her to respond to me. See what she thinks about it.
Yeah.
But
I think I'm gonna use mine, but it's not like
I actually waited for you.
It's only 5 minutes.
Christy.
Hi.
Okay.
Sakina.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I guess we will get started now. Hello, welcome to the first word circus of the fall semester. For those of you who don't know, most of you probably do, my name is Elena Polinsky. I am the second year now, Margaret L. Whitford Fellow. And as most of you know, Word Circus is a monthly reading series featuring students from Chatham's Creative Writing MFA program. It is a space where students, faculty, and friends can come together to celebrate Chatham's writers and enjoy our community. Word Circus is curated by myself and our first year Whitford Fellow, Rowan. Tonight we'll be hearing work from Nadine Bearer, Christy Mahoney, and Hannah Troy. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the Creative Writing MFA faculty, especially Sheila Scolante, our fearless director. And thank you to each of you who showed up in person. I know because anyone is on the live stream, so I won't thank them. who showed up to celebrate these wonderful writers. So our first reader will be Nadine, followed by Christy, and then we'll have a 10-minute break where you can use the restroom and enjoy some of our refreshments. There's coffee, water, cookies, and you can also sign up for the open mic, which is over on that shelf. Pen. The time limit for that is 2 minutes or 2 pages, whichever comes first. And we'll come back from our break and get started with the open mic and then finish with Hannah. Without further ado, Nadine Moore. Nadine is a part-time MFA student in her second year. She tends to write about family, culture, history, and place. She also teaches food studies at Chatham. Nadine grew up in the Northeast U.S. and spent years in the Midwest, Pacific Northwest, and parts of Latin America before moving to Pittsburgh. She gardens and raises lemons at home. Welcome, Nadine.
Can I do this so the people not on the live stream can hear? Can stay their mind. Okay, this is something that I wrote a couple of years ago, but then I was kind of thinking about it over the summer and came back. But it came originally out of I took writing about food with Sherry Flip before I started the program, and so that's where it came from. All right, ready? Reading glasses. Okay. Also, I don't love the title, so if you can think of something better, let me know. Tastes that linger. With Juancito, it was ceviche. I had gone back to Peru to visit friends and had stayed with him before flying home. Dark curly hair, dark rimmed glasses, he made ceviche for dinner, and we ate it sitting on the floor of his apartment. I first had ceviche, the sour marinated fish common to much of Latin America, in Panama, when I worked for a biologist studying damselflies. She would buy it in little plastic containers from the Asian grocery between Panama City and Gamboa, where the research station was. The fish was chopped small with onions and cilantro and lime, and we would scoop it up with chips. It was salty and chewy and sour and crunchy. But Juancito made Peruvian ceviche, bigger chunks of fish with lime, chili, cilantro, slices of sweet potatoes, onions, and corn. I had eaten it many times during the 14 months I was in Peru, although I had never thought to try and make it. As the ceviche bowls emptied, Juancito and I caught up. When we had first met through a common friend, he had asked if I wanted to go out sometime. We went to a movie in Lima that was language-wise above my head, but beautifully filmed. A week later, I took a 24-hour bus to Pucallpa, happy not to have to negotiate dating, or not dating, in a new culture, and later even happier when he started seeing another mutual friend. But now with ceviche, the conversation wandered. Families, careers, children. We both mentioned adopting children. Not together, but each of us as individuals, both wanting kids, getting close to 30, neither of us partnered. So I wondered, as I flew back to the States the next day, what if common values and goals could be more important than an automatic spark? We met up again in Argentina early the next year when I was nearby for work, and in Minnesota 4 months later when he was thinking about grad school. He had arrived to St. Paul the same night as an end-of-year celebration for the International Student Center that I worked with, an event with food and music and people I thought he would like. He didn't want to go to it. He was tired from traveling and wanted a night in. I conceded with almost no argument, later regretting it and noting just how quickly I had given up on what I wanted in the face of someone else's preference. When he chose to enroll at Penn State, I decided it was time for our long-distance attempts to fizzle. And yet, he's still the person who without fail remembers my birthday, even from another continent and time zone. With John, it had been broccoli rabe. I don't think I had ever had broccoli rabe before. Honestly, I didn't even know what it was, except that it was somehow related to broccoli. We ate it once with our coworkers, stopping the truck in the Bronx between tree pruning and removal jobs. It was dark green and salty and bitter and oily, and I wished we had ordered more. For John, cat eyes, buzz cut, and tattoos, it was a heritage food. His family was Italian American, and all of them, he told me, were firefighters, police, or mafiosos. As an arborist, he was an exception, although he had been a corrections officer and a policeman once. And while never a mafioso, he had spent his teenage years stealing cars. He had colorful stories from a checkered past. I was a college-graduated vegetarian with a cute cat. He made broccoli rabe again later in my apartment in Queens. Cooking was part of the relationship we kept hidden from our families and friends for those couple of years. A relationship that ended without souring. Attraction and comfort, but no future. Even when I saw him for the first time in almost 20 years, at his daughter's house in Alabama, we got along easily, although I could feel the differences more clearly now. His daughter, raising 2 babies under 2 and pregnant with a third, had been a baby herself when I had last seen her. Her biological father had never been in her life, and John filled that role, now as a graying young grandpa running a gun repair business out of his house in rural Georgia, cigarettes and painkillers and Red Bull, on disability from a tree work-related accident. I was a mom of 4, a teacher as he, but not I, had thought I should be, with a liberal bent in a world now more politically polarized. Could we ever have made it work? Aside from all the obvious obstacles, I don't know how he would have managed alongside what has by now become my academic life, where the cultural and social distance between him and my coworkers would have been complicated. I could have adjusted more easily, I think, to his world. We shared an interest in nature and plants and rural places. I'm culturally pliable, an astute observer, good at fitting in, or at least pretending to. I suspect that had we stayed together, my life would have looked quite different than it does. Whether for better or for worse, I don't know. With Ben, it had been caramelized onions and goat cheese on pizza. Bearded and hippie, shoulder-length curly hair under a kippah, he had grown up modern Orthodox, so when kosher goat cheese first became available, it was a revolution for his foodie mom. Although he and I were both raised in and around East Coast suburbs, he always seemed more sophisticated than I felt. He had a car, he caramelized onions, he listened to NPR, which I had never heard of and then found boring. He was a philosophy major who stayed up late talking about ethics. His sweet and overbearing family liked me, and I would fall in with their more observant life when I visited, even as Ben was slowly, quietly moving away from Judaism. We had gone to college together, and then he went to law school, and we visited on weekends. When he moved to Denver to take a clerk position, 6 years after we met, I wanted to go with him. I didn't need us to get married, although I would have preferred it, but I wanted a cross-country move to mean something. He wanted me to come along, but he didn't want commitment, didn't want to hem himself in. I stayed in New York. I taught a class on environmental policy and law 23 years later, and since I know a lot about policy but very little about law, I invited Ben through the magic of Zoom to talk to my class. He was thoughtful and sweet, intellectually engaged, and good to talk to. I don't know if my class found him interesting or not, but getting to hear him speak about something substantive made me remember why I had liked him so much. While we've been in touch over the years, it's always been more superficial, and the last time we had seen one another in person was at my wedding and then his. It brought home to me with some nostalgia the ways in which the loss of relationships can also mean the loss of friends. With Mike, it was bread. He baked and brewed beer and made jam and played trivia and Dungeons and Dragons. My roommates called him Jam Boy, 6'4" to my 5'1", a bald since the age of 18 farm kid from a large Catholic Minnesota family. In some respects, we had little in common, but in other ways, we shared values and life goals. It took me a long while to warm up to him, and we still struggle, always, with cross-cultural communication. We originally met online on a recommendation from a former roommate. I put up a quick profile, something about supply-driven cooking based on whatever was already in the fridge, being creative so nothing would go to waste. Without even uploading a picture, I emailed him and one other person. He wrote back to me even when I logged off every time he tried to chat. I didn't know what a chat function was. The early months of the relationship were bumpy. He was one of the first people I dated who hadn't already been a good friend, who I had to trust as a boyfriend without having known him outside that context. I wasn't sure I liked him. Compared to the interest I had felt with John or Ben, Mike was more in the once-he-took category. Common interests, but hit or miss chemistry. In this case, it turned out to be a decent gamble. 19 years later, we share 4 children, 11 ruminants, 12 chickens, more than one garden, a grow light, canning supplies, a grain mill, 2 cats, and nowhere near enough time to care for it all. We fight about housework and cleaning. We fight about how to communicate, about interrupting and about asking questions, about what I see as Midwestern passive-aggressiveness and what he sees as East Coast directness. But as someone who grew up not asserting myself, always being the one who adjusts, it is good for me to be with someone who adjusts to me too, who takes my views on the world seriously, even when sometimes I still wish I could just be along for the ride. Our meals are blended. When he cooks, it's noodles and pancakes and pie. When I cook, kapusta shkotska and challah and halva. We joke that the playlist we made for our wedding was maybe the crown achievement of our marriage. Hours spent listening to his music, Irish funk, country, classic rock, and mine, salsa, folk, klezmer, interspersing it all, highlighting our mixed-up tastes and heritages. We played it from our computer through a rented speaker in the backyard of our double-wide, 7 miles up a canyon with no cell service, on a 98-degree day in August, where we danced in the dry, fire-prone grass of our yard. With some distance now, I look back on the other lives I led, different lives than the one I lead now, in different places, with different people, with what presumably would have been different futures. And while it feels sometimes that these old lives are meant to be forgotten, or remembered only with bitterness or as mistakes on the way to a more settled life, for me, the memories of these long-gone relationships are both as sweet and as messy as the current one. They were with people who taught me about different corners of the world than the ones I had known. They taught me about myself, about what I want, and about what I shouldn't willingly subvert to others. These former partners are people I still think of fondly, and the foods that came with them, just like the foods I eat now, are foods I still love. Glasses. Taking submissions for titles.
Thank you so much, Nadine. All right. Up next, we have Christy Mahoney. Christy Mahoney is a Pennsylvania-based writer whose work explores human emotion through fiction. She studies the potential, complexity, and value of the relationships that humans keep with themselves, others, and the world. She's currently pursuing her MFA in creative writing here at Chatham, where she serves as Fourth River Fellow and managing editor of the program's literary journal, The Fourth River.
Hi everyone, thank you, Elena. Just gonna set the timer because I don't know how long this is gonna go. Okay. So I'm gonna be reading from my thesis work in progress. You guys are gonna hear the first draft, the first between 6 and 10 pages. So this is called Oculus. I'm reading a section that occurs kind of in the late 80s spends the late 80s into the late 90s. But I think there's a lot of background in it, so I'm just going to start reading, and you guys hopefully can follow along. So this is called Oculus. I hear the neighbors again, she says to me. The walls are too thin. Mother is old now. It's hard to see her this way. Skin thin as paper, green-blue veins visible over rheumatic knuckles and brittle bones, mind slowly slipping away. The walls in this house are made with insulated concrete forms, and the neighbor's house is a distance away. They're elderly like her and do not move about much. The most noise that comes from their property is the muffled hum of a lawnmower every Sunday afternoon during the warmer months when their son comes to service the gardens. No, it is not these walls in this house that she is speaking of. Her mind is in our old house, the one we had in the city when I was a child. For most of my childhood, I lived in a duplex with my mother and father in Queens. The house itself was generous enough for 3 bodies, with its 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, and a workshop in the basement for my father. My father was a construction foreman who built and destroyed and rebuilt buildings in Manhattan all day. During the winter, however, when work dropped off, he was sometimes laid off for weeks at a time. When this happened, he'd spend the days in his workshop, drinking light beer and building furniture out of scrap wood he'd accumulated from work, leaving the rest of the house to my mother and me. But even when each of us could retire to our own quarters, the sense of a cramped city still seeped in. My mother hated to be stuck in the house. She'd claim that she could hear the neighbors talking through the walls while she sat in the kitchen having her 10 a.m. coffee. These walls are too damn thin, she'd remark, and I sat beside her at the table playing with crayons and coloring books. Her delicate fingers gripped the handle of her mug, her lips were pressed tight. A sharp scowl descended over her brow. Shrewdness, my mother claimed, was a woman's birthright, and she had it in spades. Before she met my father, my mother was a ballerina. She danced for a minor ballet company until the discussion of having children came into play. No doubt a life spent under the direction of professional instructors and choreographers helped form her shrewdness, but more often than not, I found myself on the receiving end of this quirk of hers, and I often wondered whether she blamed me for the end of her career. After all, as a child, she dreamed of attending Juilliard. The closest she ever got was the subway stop at 66th and Broadway. When I entered grade school and was no longer my mother's full-time keeper, nor she mine, she began teaching dance classes at a nearby studio. Not the kind of classes you might imagine when someone tells you, my mother teaches dance in New York, but the tots and tutus classes meant to give the other mothers a break once a week. The studio where she taught was located in a large storefront in Hunters Point. Inside, there were floor-to-ceiling mirrors lining one wall, a ballet bar lining the opposite, and vinyl-coated maple floorboards lining the distance between. The wall connecting the bar and the mirrors contained one large picture window from which passers-by could watch you as you waited your turn to jeter across the floor. I admit that I never felt comfortable with the whole thing. The tights, leotards, the skirts, the buns, that powder pink color, and all those gawking faces. One fell out of a pirouette at the age of 6, and I refused to return the next week. The snickers of the other girls and the stony look of disgust on my mother's face were too much for me to handle. Lying there on the floor, my face burned red, my heart palpitated, and I was overcome with nausea. In the span of a moment, my eyes moved from my mother's face to the picture window to the studio door. I weighed my options, ultimately deciding to brave the rest of the class that day. Even as a child, I sensed that if I ran in that moment, the humiliation would only increase exponentially. Mom barely put up a fight that evening when I said I didn't want to continue with dance. I think a part of her knew I'd sooner follow in my father's footsteps than hers. But to her credit, she asserted that if I were to give up one extracurricular activity, I would have to fill the space with another. No daughter of mine is going to fall through the cracks and grow up to be a burnout, she said. There was an art studio on the same block as her dance studio, and I'd always had a fondness for coloring. So we compromised with an art class during my summers off from school. When school was out, 80-hour work weeks were my father's norm, and aside from the art camp, which ran from 8 a.m. to noon, Monday through Friday most of the summer, my mother and I had a lot of time together. Once a week, we would take the E train from Hunters Point across the East River to Midtown, the 6 to the Upper East Side, and walk down 86th Street, hand in hand, on our way to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Manhattan had a unique energy. The world seemed fully alive. People walking up and down the street in every direction, taxis honking their horns, buses clogging up the narrow lanes. Even the skyline itself appeared to be alive. The century-old buildings were constantly undergoing renovations or being torn down entirely, and modern complexes cropped up out of nowhere. The only constant, it seemed, was change. I took solace in this observation and, despite the suboptimal relationship with my mother, found myself looking forward to our trips to the Met. My mother was a fan of Degas. She enjoyed looking at the paintings and sculptures of dancers, so they reminded her of herself. Her favorite, of course, was the bronze cast of his little 14-year-old dancer. Our weekly art excursions were not complete without a visit to the sculpture. My mother would stand silently and analyze the girl, her lips pursed as tight as they were when she criticized the neighbors. I'm not sure what she was looking for, if anything, but more than once I noticed a searching look in her eyes as she gazed over the dancer, the center of her eyebrows a little raised as if concerned. Perhaps it was assumptive of me, but at the time I'd always thought my mother was asking the girl, where did I go wrong? If it weren't for the minimum 4-foot distance to be kept from each work of art, I'm certain that my mother would have gone nose to nose with the girl and held a private conversation. My own fascination with art grew as a result of the summer camp I attended and these museum outings with my mother. The endless corridors and outcroppings filled with millennia of paintings, sculptures, jewelry, furniture, you name it, were wondrous to behold as a child. One could get lost among the French Impressionists or the Renaissance painters and not feel lost in the least. One day in particular, we visited the ancient Egyptian wing, long corridors of statues and statuettes, pieces of pottery and jewelry, and jars that my young mind imagined were used for holding organs. The main exhibit was the Temple of Dendur, a 336 square foot Roman Egyptian temple originally built in Nubia in the 1st century BCE. The temple was built for Isis, Egyptian goddess of the divine feminine. Isis represented familial love, protection, wisdom, strength, healing, and magic. It is said that she even had the power to resurrect, and that she was so dedicated to her family that she used this power to revive her husband Osiris and her son Horus. A powerful deity, no doubt, her cult spread through the Roman Empire. The Temple of Dendur must have been one of their homages. The temple found its way to New York via UNESCO in 1968. In the 1960s, the Aswan High Dam was to be built on the Nile River, which would flood the nearby parts of Egypt and Sudan, threatening threatening the destruction of a number of antiquities, churches, temples, etc. UNESCO pulled together the power of 50 countries worldwide and millions of dollars besides to help the Egyptians and the Sudanese preserve or record the antiquities that would be lost in the flood. The Temple of Dendur was one of those sites. A team of Egyptologists and archaeologists spent the greater part of the mid-1960s deconstructing the temple, block by sandstone block, and packaging it into boxes. As an act of gratitude, the Egyptians bestowed a few of their antiquities to the UNESCO countries that helped most in preserving their history. In 1965, the Temple of Dendur was gifted to the United States for contributing the most amount of money. The gift was received by Jackie Kennedy on behalf of the country. From there, the Metropolitan Museum of Art had it out with the Smithsonian for this prized piece of history, and ultimately, the Met came out on top. Thus, the boxes of sandstone were shipped to New York and stored until it was rebuilt and opened for exhibition in 1978. When I first saw the temple, I was mesmerized and felt a sense of wonder. The large room that housed the temple was a wide, open space, with the western wall running floor to ceiling with windows, offering a stunning view of Central Park and allowing soft, indirect light to illuminate the exhibit. The temple itself was laid out as it would have been in antiquity. A large, shallow pool surrounding a raised floor where the temple sat. Like any museum, the atmospheric temperature had a chill to it, which added to the mystical feeling of being so close to something so ancient and so holy. How could all this be rebuilt in its exact original form, I asked myself. How much work and precision goes into that? I walked with hesitance around the pool and up the stairs to the platform, keeping my gaze fixed on the portico. Why was there an archway sitting way out in front of the main building of the temple, I wondered. Curious, I inspected the portico before stepping through its threshold quite gingerly. At this, I thought I would be transformed. I wondered if there was a secret password to get through the gates to Isis's home. Disappointed that I was not confronted with an ancient being presenting a question, a riddle, or a challenge, I admit that I lost the sense of magic for a moment. Still, fascinated by the whole experience, I walked steadily toward the main temple, with its walls carved with reliefs of Pharaoh making offerings to the deities before entering into Isis's domain. Here, a single effigy on a glass-encased pedestal, the lower half of a woman's body formed out of stone. Her stomach was generous, not pregnant, but full like a person's cheeks when they smile. I thought of my own mother's stomach, stick-thin from years of ballet training and heavy dieting, somehow never once gaining an ounce of fat back. The effigy's stomach was much more welcoming than my mother's, and I wondered what it would be like to lay my head in the lap of such a woman. Would I feel more comforted? Would I feel more loved? Would I ever get these feelings from my own mother who had been lingering just a few feet away as I explored the temple? These trips to the museum with my mother built a sort of unspoken trust between us. We'd learned, however slowly, to let each other wander just a little bit. But while we didn't see eye to eye, we did achieve some amount of respect for each other. Eventually, my mother made her way back to me, stating that it was time to go. It seemed she had enough of the ancient Egyptians. Needless to say, she was not as fascinated by the temple's grandeur as I was. As we left the museum that day, I realized something. Out of all the artwork and history to be discovered inside, what garnered my wonder most was the museum itself. 5-story-high limestone walls encasing 2.2 million square feet, marking just one of the many thresholds between Central Park and the city surrounding it. I adored this monument of history, beauty, and culture, and when my father returned home from work on the days I'd been to the Met, I'd climb onto his lap and insist he tell me everything about building buildings. Most men in the world seem to have a chip on their shoulder about work, but my father was different. He never tired of the idea of constructing something where there used to be nothing. Dad humored my newfound obsession on how buildings come to be and told me all there was to know. Rebar and drill bits, scaffolding and hard hats. He had an inclination for storytelling and built things up to be as grand and magical as a child needed them to be to stay engaged. At this, my mother rolled her eyes, but she did not interrupt. At night, I'd steal away to my bedroom and write and draw in my journal about the buildings I plan to design when I grow up. Gigantic, monstrous buildings made out of impossible materials, the first of their kind, things surely to put me on the map of famous architects. I even drafted up a blueprint for a glass house when I was 11. I became increasingly interested in the concepts of transparency and void boundaries. I kept the idea concealed until, at the age of 15, I read about Philip Johnson's 1949 glass house in a book my father gave me for Christmas. Curious and really rather frustrated, I took to researching more. What I found was a tradition of all glass buildings dating back to the 19th century. The Farnsworth House in Illinois, completed in 1951, the Glass Pavilion in Cologne, Germany, completed in 1914, the Crystal Palace in London, England, completed in 1851. At this discovery, my confidence took a blow. If glass houses were already in existence, then what would be my claim to fame, or at least recognition? My genius and my ego were certainly put in check. However, my hope was not entirely shattered. I took the blow in stride, deciding it might be worthwhile to study the field and its history more formally. And we'll stop there. Oh no, it's a whole thing. Oh my god, yeah, I'm so sorry. Is that all of it? Okay.
All right. We will go ahead and take our 10-minute break now. So we have to leave for a bit. We'll be back at like 6:40. And if you would like to read for open mic, it is still up there, as well as a sign-up sheet if you aren't on the email reminder list, because I think I've got everybody, but I might not. So, yeah, see you then.
I still know.
No.
Oh, sure.
I've been checking on it. I love your. I'm really excited to see. Question: do you know? Have you heard of the ballerina farm? It's crazy, like how like similar it was. There was this woman who was a dancer. I don't know if she was actually or she was trying to go to jail, and then she like gave it up to to be with her husband. And there was this New York Times article about it, and it was like.
So good.
I'm not saying this, but I'm saying this about like her like giving up everything for that, and I thought that was like really interesting. So I feel like totally like into the There you go. Yeah, I don't know if it's the farm is called Ballerina Farm.
Never
She's
read
like
Yeah.
oh, that's the farm's website.
Why are they not interesting? They might be too. I was
She's
thinking
like,
maybe
what's the
too
word
like
for it? Like the
self-referential the person writing it.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
Here,
it's this one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
those.
It's a, I don't know if you have a
Never
name,
Not.
but that's
Sometimes
where.
they'll just go on and on
If I can like save it,
Right. I really don't text it so much.
I can definitely send you the link.
There's this. She did something.
This is-
Yeah.
Let me double check this. Yeah. Maybe you just want to put your phone in. Yeah, you were reading that. I was like, oh my god, you know, like that.
I don't, but it's
All
perfect.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I've like, so I did the driveway, and I'm like, another cycle, so it's just like sitting in the story. I'm like, I miss it. So I've just been like practicing the plays while writing my story.
That's kind of brilliant. You're getting into the mind of the character. That's awesome. So wait, so this is your thesis, right? Or can I, you know, first year? Because like, I'm curious, where did you come up with the idea? Like, what brought you to this is my thesis?
Yes. I went went to St. Louis Arch this past summer with my partner and became obsessed with architecture.
Yeah.
And then Chad and I did the thing at Falling Waters. So that was sort of like a nice, it was a nice synchronicity. And then I went to New York a couple times with my partner this summer and just got to like run around. And like, be like, wow, I really
So
like
was
this
it like
environment. It's
you
so
weren't
different
like
from where I grew up.
and
And then I decided I kind of wanted to merge the parts because I lived most of my adult life kind of like Jay-Z being like farm girl like stuff. But another part of it is like city girl.
Yeah.
It was art. I never got to do that. I mean, I guess I'm living that now. No, that's right. So the story is kind of like merging different parts of my identity.
Yeah, I've had a couple other times
Through
where
like
it's
kind of like a
yeah. Oh, I was like,
topics that I
let's
think are fun and engaging. Because I think writing, sometimes it gets really hard if the topic isn't like interesting enough for me. And so I'm like, I should have fun with this. So I get to like research like New York and art and ancient Egyptian architecture. And stuff. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
This is silly, but have you seen
Yeah.
the?
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
What
it's
you
okay.
talking?
Go first. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna ask if you've seen the Sesame Street goes to the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
So
good.
So
So good. And they have the whole like climax of it is there's a temple of Dendor and like it's like
it's going on a bit
yeah. I watch it because it's really fun.
Thank you.
Even for
I was really busy.
What's my description of New York?
So it's like I was
Okay.
I feel like I'm there. Like, yeah, no, it's brilliant.
If that doesn't answer your question,
So
I'm not from New York.
I'm
from Pennsylvania.
I'm not from New York, but I grew up going there all the
Yeah.
time. And one of my good friends as a kid was like always was obsessed with the Egypt wing. And we would always like run through.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I have a lot of memories of that. So yeah.
Did I do it justice?
Yeah.
You're in the street place too. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's so kind. Thank you. Wow. I feel thoroughly like.
When you're saying the train, I was like, okay, there we go.
Yeah, I was like, we're
I
there.
consulted with Will for that.
But that really puts you in because you're like, oh yeah.
Maybe what it does to your writing.
How about you, Steve?
I
read Thursday.
Oh yeah, how did that go?
Well, yeah, it was a nice, well attended, and the building was beautiful. So yeah, it's just this like event space. You can bring your own stuff in. They have twinkle lights, and almost exposed brick, and very charming. And we each got to keep a picture that inspired our piece. So that was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
And the editor of Rust Belt is going to publish all of our pieces. So that would have gone, like, can you imagine being an editor and be like, yeah, I'm published, what do we read tonight? And it's like crap, and you're like, oh, it's Circus.
There's a specific.
But yeah,
It
so.
was a pretty curated list of
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to be there, but I saw the photos. And
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, we have our craft class that night.
Oh, yeah, so
Yeah,
so it was kind of.
I need that craft class back.
Yeah. How's it going?
It's good, okay. I'm really enjoying it.
So,
Did you write?
you're writing pieces and then dissecting the craft elements in it, or you just
I think I'm the last
about
Okay.
from a.
I'm the
We're-
first group.
So I illustrated my poem from Monday, and I didn't like it.
I'm first year.
Oh, so you were
Yes,
thinking
I
of
will be
like-
No.
next year. That's my
Okay.
so I will be up there.
I was just
Yeah.
separate.
You're
I'm gonna
Separate
switch
conversation.
this.
That's what I was
Okay,
there.
yeah, so I think I'm just.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. That's so cool. Yeah, no, I think it's really cool that you're just like, I don't know, if you're here to hang out with
I think
us.
I'm just gonna, I need to
Like,
like revise a
definitely.
lot.
One thing that we do is that all the first years have our craft class at Thursdays at 6. But before then, at least a couple of us every week meet up to do like just meet up and talk about writing and like see how everyone's doing. So if you're ever not busy at a Thursday at 5 and you want to come in and say hi to all the first years, like you're more than
It's
welcome
always
to.
like
I promise we're not. We're only a little scared. I promise.
Yeah. A lot of stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
It's cool.
I was like,
I do fiction. I write a lot about like boyhood, masculinity, and stuff like that. How about you?
I write poetry.
That's awesome.
I'm doing
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I already
Oh, wow.
I'm just having a difficult time because like my topic.
It's really cool.
Like how we write the elegy.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great place to do this, right?
Yeah, like inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? I actually didn't know that it was a women's college until way too late in life. Not that I would have been like, oh, women's college, get me out of here. But I think it's like a funny little detail that I show up and I'm like, there's a lot of women here. Wow. Like, I know, even though it's, co-ed now, I think that somebody told me that like, the incoming like undergraduate freshman class is like 70% women. And I think a lot of them are like tier 2 plus, is my impression. I don't know, I feel like whenever I see a like dentist, they either look like they're on their way to the gym, or or they're literally they're carrying some type of like equipment. That's
And then everything else
men in sports and then queer women. Kind of the two things, I feel like.
and then the rest is
Like I work with siblings, so like it's not easy. Not a cycle seats, like move around.
Okay. I'll go back to that.
That's funny. Yeah. I went to Pitt for undergrad, but a couple of the classes that I took, like I took a lot of like queer literature and like writing classes, and those were mostly, which is amazing. But also it means that I'm very recognizable by my professors. So if I see them in the hall, they're like, "Hi, Ron," I'm like, "I had one class with you." How do you remember me? But, yeah. Are you excited, Hannah?
No.
Are you excited?
Yeah. Sorry.
I was just saying.
I was reading, but like before I come and practice, but then I get in my brain. So
That's real. Yeah, I feel like
It was fun.
this is. I'm assuming this isn't your first.
No, I did one. It's like the first one was the second semester. I did last year.
How was that?
It was good. I read something that I had worked on before I leave.
Horrible sound systems.
Mhm.
And this was written from the thesis, and I wrote it
But
like 2
it-
years ago. So like very different energy of what I did last year. But
Yeah. And remind me what your thesis is about again, because I remember hearing it at the orientation. I remember being like, "This is really fucking cool." But I don't remember what it is.
it's story legend of Bella. And so it's like an umbrella story, so it
Okay.
Yeah.
ties in short stories to it.
And I was,
It's about two women in
so.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm so curious. Sorry, not to interrupt you. I'm really curious about that. Like, is the novella like in one piece in the middle of the collection, or is that still, or is it like broken up?
So
Okay.
it's so the
Yeah.
and I haven't figured out the exact order of those. The novellas is very end.
Got
So
it.
like the finale.
That's really interesting. I feel like there's so much like interesting decisions with like context and like stuff like that. Like, can you like make something so subtle in that novella because like the reader already had like that's really cool.
Yeah, that's it. It will be. I'm writing more. I started I'm trying to finish all the short stories.
Mhm.
And then like since some of them tied into the novella, I was like, oh,
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I think I'll have to go back to everything and find the nuances.
Large
Yeah.
Hints and like
Yeah.
like that and not be too
Uh-huh.
yeah.
That's cool. Do they follow like the same characters?
Throughout. Each story is set in like a different area.
Okay.
How long was that?
Different ages and
Okay.
and then some of them will come back and sort of elements, but
Interesting. thing. I read this book recently called 2666, and I don't need to read it because it's 900 pages. But it's.
Hello
I'll tell you
again.
It's a long weekend.
We're going to go ahead and get started with the open mic. We have 2 readers. Reminder, keep it to 2 minutes or 2 pages. And up first we have Maya, is it
It's Maya Walker.
Walker? Okay,
Okay.
sorry. Maya Walker.
Is there a third reader? Or, wait, how are we doing this?
There's only 2 that signed up, so.
Oh, no, I thought, is it open mic and then back to,
Oh no, we do the open mic in the middle.
oh, okay. Misunderstood. They don't want to cut over like an actual scheduled program. You know? Hello. I think I have 2 poems. They're on my phone. So the story behind this is that in me and Madison's writing poetry class with Sheila Squilanti, we are picking a theme and then writing poems based on that theme to compile into a short chapbook. And these 2 poems I want to read, or just one, if I don't have time, are written on the same subject, but before I started the class. So the subject is like Ghosts and Buenos Aires, where I studied abroad last semester, and this one's called Ghost of Buenos Aires. I am trying to be a fly on the wall of the city, attracted to light but staying in shadow. I speak when I need to, in Spanish, speak Spanish and say, I've only spoken Spanish today. I read Neruda on the bus and nearly miss my stop. Entre la sombra y el alma. I'm trying to love the city like a local, but I've never been local to anyone. At home, a girl asks for directions, but I am lost, as always, lost for words. Here, a girl asks if I'm from Brazil. I say no, but think of that painting. The one with the nude figure and the cactus, the figure out of proportion, the cactus a vibrant green. It's from Brazil, but I'm not. On the bus once, not quite empty, I saw a man and woman smiling, facing away from the window. The woman wore a leather jacket, so red it mirrored the traffic light we had stopped at. I wanted to take a picture. Instead, I let the light reflect on the frame of my glasses, drifted back to shadow. How else to remain a ghost? Okay. And then this other one is called Phantom. In a poem in French, Pizarnik writes, your face is closer to me than my own, phantom memory. In Spanish, I write that I'm a ghost to the city, a ghost to its people. I write of the air that molds around me, dust particles revealing a half-formed girl. I write in a foreign tongue. Like Pizarnik, I want to be known in a tongue half-formed to me. A tongue that half-formed me, I want to be known. I show M the poems in Spanish, her only tongue. She tells me, your poetry wouldn't be the same if it were perfect. I tell her I know. I tell her it's not the same, but I like it. M says I'm not a ghost, porque vos sos algo vivo y presente. She showed me her favorite poem by Pizarnik. Solo buscaba un lugar más o menos propicio para vivir. I told her how I miss home, but not just one, and how I miss her too. Now I'm leaving and my life is in 2 suitcases. I cry in Spanish or English or nothing or something in between. I wonder how Pizarnik would feel. I wonder what she would write.
Thank you. That was great. And up next we have Gabby Raymond.
Hello. Thank you for having me here. This is very lovely to meet you all. I am in the food studies department, so thanks. I didn't know I could read, so everything is also on my phone. So I'll just also read 2 poems. We're just gonna go for it. The truth is, skittish like a bug, tiptoeing on the edge, a vision, flash of movement on orange wings, skittering black legs brushing up against that moment when you're making something out of nothing, singing praises to waterfalls, pretty men, hold still just a little longer, right there, self-assured cockroach, looming banana fly, banana spider, fleeting summer fly. The other one's in a different place because you have 7 folders for everything. Poems, poems. Aha. Great. Considering the morality of consumption, while preparing her morning tea, she found an ant in her honey, drowned in the thick ease of a good thing. She wonders who will bring back dead mites, crumbs, and nettles to the queen. He probably thought he struck it lucky, drinking up the labor of 100 hives of bees, never too much, never enough, until thin legs crumbled under sticky crystals stuck in faded amber, sweet nectar choking every breath. She dragged the body to the jar's wall, squeezed it along the glass, shiny and small, flicked it in the trash. Thank you, Gabby. All right. Now we will close out the evening with Hannah Troy. Hannah Troy is a Pittsburgh native and second-year MFA student.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't update that.
Gotta update that.
And English 105 graduate instructor at Shadow. Hannah thrives in the shadowy realms of prose and poetry and is inspired by horror in all its forms, both in art and reality. In her free time, Hannah can be found renovating her old hippie bungalow or exploring the Appalachian wilderness with her partner, Zach, and her intrepid canine companion, Oat.
All right, hi everybody. Okay, let's see here. I don't drop this. Okay. So the piece I'm reading today is called Buck Hour. It's a short story in its infancy because it's for my thesis. So I only wrote this like 2 weeks ago. And I'm still learning to love it. But it is not, the part I will be reading is not too much based in horror, but it is an introduction to one of the characters. And it's based in Pittsburgh, even though my thesis takes place across like the span of Appalachia. As I said, not too scary to start, although it does have some scariness if you are a woman in the dating world. So, all right, this is Buck Hour. I met Ollie on a dating app. As a hopeless romantic, this isn't something I particularly like to admit to people. I prefer to tell them that Ollie saw me across a crowded bar, my favorite pop song was blasting, the perfect level of drunk, and told me I was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. He would have wooed me, carried me off into the sunset, that sort of thing. Now, don't get me wrong, Ollie still knocked it out of the park the day we actually met. But before we get to that story, it's fair to share a little bit more about me, who I am. My name is Chloe. I was 26 years old and trying desperately to figure out who the fuck I was when I went on the most horrific date of my life. Prior to the actual date, I thought it would be the best date of my life. The guy I matched with on the app, we'll just call him Guy, had intricate tattoos visible in his photos, said he was an artist, and most importantly, he wasn't a Republican, which even living in Pittsburgh seemed to be something I ran into far too often. Guy seemed perfect. Keyword, seemed. He took me on a date to a place called Bill's Garage. It was located on the opposite side of the city from me, but I figured it would be worth it. I got ready for the date in my usual manner, drinking a glass of wine to ease my anxiety and pulling a tarot deck of my past, present, and future. The card pool was not good. The past and present felt right, but the future card I pulled was the Five of Pentacles, representing hardship, poverty, and adversity. Not what I wanted to pull before a date that I was so excited for. Bill's Garage, though, was incredibly cool. It was a little shack by the Allegheny River with a bunch of Christmas lights, even though it was the end of June. A house guy, hello, and he looked like his picture and was radiating cool dude energy. I ordered Blue Moon, and he ordered double whiskey Coke. We got drunk, and as the night continued, he made a comment to me about how he hated people that went to college and thought they were uppity. I scrunched my nose at this. I went to college, I said. It was hard for me, but it made me who I am today. Did this dude not even look at my profile? My undergrad was listed right on my profile. It wasn't a secret. I tried to brush it off, though, Our conversation was flowing okay enough. This might still work out. I even got up and sang karaoke. Apparently, every night is karaoke night at Bill's Garage. I requested Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody, and I wanted to show off a little bit to Guy, kind of stick it to him that you could still be cool even with a bachelor's degree. Wow, he enamored, swigging back his fourth, maybe fifth, whiskey Coke. I nodded, knowing I crushed it. You don't pick Whitney Houston for karaoke unless you can crush it. I silently thanked my uppity mom for putting me in voice lessons in 4th grade. I didn't mention this tidbit to Guy, though, feeling like he'd judge me a little bit more. You know, he ran his tattooed hand through his semi-greasy blonde hair. I play guitar and write songs, but I can't sing. I'm always looking for my muse to sing my music. The blue moons I had been throwing back to deal with this worsening date turned in my stomach, suddenly making me feel bloated and gross. Wow, that's so cool. I tried to make eye contact with the bartender, signaling her for the check. It's getting pretty late, and I'm actually headed to New York tomorrow to visit my sister. Guy nodded. New York, huh? Fancy. I bit the inside of my cheek hard. Earlier in the night, Guy and I had joked about getting McDonald's after drinks. That was now out of the picture for me. I just wanted to go home. Together or separate? The bartender asked as she came over, sensing my signal. I looked towards Guy, expecting the usual together that every other random man had taken to on dates. As a self-proclaimed feminist, I had some issues with expecting a man to pay. But in the same breath, I was a manager at a retail store. I barely made enough to cover my rent, and I had very little fun money. And after all, I had been saving that fun money for my trip to New York. Separate, thanks. Guy smiled at the bartender, and then I watched him look her up and down. She was beautiful, sure, but Guy had really sealed the fate of falling into the terrible date category. The bartender returned and placed the checks in front of us respectively. Guy put his card down and then ran to the bathroom. Guy took his time in the bathroom, and while in there doing Satan knows what, the bartender returned, a concerned look on her face. At first, I panicked, thinking she knew something terrible about Guy and was going to share it with me. Everywhere else has 6 degrees of separation, but in Pittsburgh, there's only 3. Instead, though, she placed his card and my card down in front of me and then whispered, his card didn't go through, just a heads up. I ran it quite a few times and nothing. I'm going to break it to him when he gets back, but figured you should be aware of what's happening. The blue moon went from just making me feel kind of bad to making me want to vomit it all up. Guy returned and the bartender broke the news to him. I watched as he opened his wallet, his face going white. Just a driver's license and a card from Dave & Buster's inside. I sighed and pushed my card towards the bartender. Just put it on mine. Guy didn't utter a fucking word. He didn't say thank you. He didn't look at me. The rage inside me built into something dark and all too familiar. Men had been disappointing me my entire life. I had a dad who probably didn't even know my birthday, a brother who was such a raging asshole that I only saw him on holidays, and a long list of terrible boyfriends and dates that had jaded me. This was the final crack in my armor. Since Guy had been ordering doubles all night, his bill was around $70. I tipped the bartender because I'm not an asshole, and we walked out. As I mentioned, I barely had enough money to survive these days. So $70 plus a tip hurt. My blue moons were in budget, double whiskey and cokes were not. So, do you still want to go to McDonald's? Guy had his hands in his pocket, giving me sad boy eyes. I stood there, seething, and contemplated clawing his eyes out with my bare hands. I gripped my purse tightly, trying to resist the sudden urge to murder this man. Guy, I said, you cannot afford drinks. I highly doubt that you can afford the dollar menu at McDonald's, and I've overextended my budget and patience tonight. So I'm going home. I suggest you do the same. I called my mom on the way home, and something inside me snapped. I sobbed uncontrollably in the parking lot at the nearest gas station, claiming to her that I would never meet anyone and that I had now chosen the path to move alone to an isolated island, adopt a cat, and die alone. 2 weeks later, though, that's when Ollie messaged me on the app. The story of Guy is important for a multitude of reasons. One, it had plummeted me into a I don't give a fuck attitude where I decided I was going to date multiple men at once and just have fun. Any woman who dates men regularly or sparingly knows that this is not something that is actually fun. 2, I had become increasingly convinced that my terror pools were real and not just some silly little thing I was doing. So suddenly I was convinced that I had witchy powers and was practicing and studying witchcraft with a new enthusiasm. And 3, I gained a new sense of self-confidence and self-worth, which is something I had not had in a long time, probably since my first boyfriend at 15 destroyed it. Ollie took me to a fancy Mexican restaurant that I'd been dying to try on our first date. We bonded over music taste and even went to the same college as my older sister. The women in my family were insanely important to me, and Ollie expressed numerous opinions at our dinner that his mom was just as important to him. He was a breath of fresh air, and yet I was wary of him because he was too nice.
After dinner, though, Ollie invited me to a dive bar on the north side of Pittsburgh where there was live bluegrass music. I was ecstatic. He had already paid for our dinner without hesitation, and now he was ready to extend our evening. Once there, we listened and laughed and continued to chat and laugh and get to know each other, despite the efforts of the bluegrass music to drown us out. Ollie then invited me back to his apartment to show me his PBR collection. At the time, Ollie didn't know that I had the type of neurodiversity that loves a collection. I agreed and was filled with relief and promise when I saw he lived in an old Allegheny West mansion converted into apartments. His serial killer vibes went way down because of how cool his apartment was. I'm not sure the exact logic behind that, but trust me, it makes sense. The rest was honestly history. Ollie and I made out on his couch, his roommate conveniently working an overnight shift at the hospital. While Ollie and I made out, he boldly pulled my hair, and I was both shocked and confident that we were going to sleep together. And we did. And even though I left like a fuckboy at 5 a.m., claiming it was because I had to work, I did. He still texted me later that day. And even though I booty called him the next weekend to watch School of Rock, we did not watch School of Rock, Ollie still kept wanting to date me, actually date me. We went on dates and we were making each other genuinely happy. I shared my issues with my dad and brother with Ollie, and he didn't even flinch. I met his friends and actually enjoyed them. And we started talking about marriage, and I declared I wouldn't be changing my last name. And Ollie said I could do whatever I want. Then COVID happened. Ollie and his roommate Cullen have been friends since first grade. Ollie had told me that they drifted apart when in school, Cullen working tirelessly to become a nurse, and Ollie enjoying life as a D3 football player with a communications major. They had found their way back to each other after a bit, though, and it was clear when I met Cullen that he and Ollie were more like brothers than best friends. Cullen had a tendency to date a bunch of different men, but he also had a consistent man that he had been dating since high school, Tatum or Tate. He was my favorite person in the wild dating life of Cullen. Tate and I basically lived at the Allegheny West mansion turned apartment, even before COVID. Tate would sometimes go missing for lengths of a time when Cullen was exploring a different connection, but eventually the connection would fizzle and Tate would come back. When COVID hit, it eliminated the dating pool pretty quickly, so Tate became even more of a staple. We were a bunch of lost 20-somethings trying to figure out how the hell to live during the world of COVID, and Cullen seemed to have it the worst with being a nurse. We hunkered down together, quarantining often since Cullen was exposed heavily to COVID. I'd been laid off from my retail job and living on unemployment with freelance writing gigs keeping me stable. Ollie and Tate had been working fully remote for their corporate jobs, and Ollie and I spent most of our days wandering around the north side of Pittsburgh, falling deeply in love with each other. We spent our nights drinking wine and playing games with Tate and Cullen. Ollie learned how to cook, and I kept honing my tarot craft, even sharing it with the boys of the apartment. We all lived peacefully at the apartment we adoringly called Hickory, since it was on Hickory Street. I spent so much time at Hickory that I also started to experience what I thought were ghost sightings. The old home had quite the history. It was once the mansion of a prominent Pittsburgh doctor, then a boarding home for wayward people, then abandoned. Then in the 70s purchased and turned into apartments. I shared my ghost sightings with the boys, but they weren't too convinced that it was actually a ghost that knocked my towel off the door. I told them I swore I saw her at the top of the stairs every time I walked through the heavy oak front door, and I could hear her late at night once the sounds of the living in Hickory had gone to sleep. Oh, that's just Buck, Cullen offered me one night over our 100th game of Catan. Wait, who's Buck? I furrowed my brow at Ollie and his side. You guys haven't told her about Buck yet? Tate slammed his wine glass down, boxed Pinot splashing a bit. Cullen gave Tate an annoyed look, their forced proximity creating higher tensions than usual. Buck is the in-house maintenance man. Oh, I looked at Ollie, confused why he had sighed. And he lives in the basement, in a little apartment down there. Ollie pushed his glasses up his thin nose. I searched his face, specifically his gray eyes, looking for some more detail. The apartment, Tate puts in air quotes, up for apartment, is a little room with a mini fridge, a gaming console, a TV, a lawn chair, and a twin bed that belongs to a campground. This piqued my interest. Wait, what, you've seen it? The apartments at Hickory were nice. Not too crazy, not too fancy, but nice. This didn't track with everything else, but it did track with what an unfinished Pittsburgh basement in an old mansion might look like. We all got up and walked out the large front door of the apartment. The entry hall was dark, barely lit by the soft ceiling light. The thick red carpet was plush underneath our feet as we tiptoed towards the door that led to the stairs under the basement. When Cullen opens the door, we're all met with darkness, and I grab Ollie's hand. Cullen reaches for the light switch, which is really just a timer, and it dawns on me that if you're down there and the timer goes off, you're stuck in the dark. I swallowed hard and stared down the steep steps.
They were covered in a thin gray carpet, that kind you find in office floor buildings. Go on, Chloe, Ollie playfully nudged me. Something in me nodded up. It's a certain instinct women have, the one where their skin grows cold, their jaw tight, their eyes and mouth dry. No thanks, I'm all set. I turn away and the boys all follow me. They're laughing about it, but I'm still feeling that sinking feeling of something evil lurking beneath my feet. I stare at the back wall where there's a large window that opens up to the brick patio. And on that patio, there's also an extra entrance to the basement. Does Buck go through the outdoor entrance? I keep my eyes set on the black window, knowing full well that whatever is outside can see me much better than I can see it. Oh shit, yeah. I rarely see him use the stairs in the hall, actually. I usually just run into him when I'm outside. Cullen runs over to the windows and begins pulling the curtains shut. Hurry, Cullen, shut them. It's Buck hour, Tate screams, grabbing his line and helping Cullen pull the blinds down. I glance at Ollie, knowing that there's fear on my face. He walks over to me and pulls me into his chest, kissing the top of my head. He whispers against my hair, "Don't worry, baby. Buck is harmless." Buck was not harmless.
Why did you end it like that? I expect the rest of it. All right. Well, a final thank you to Nadine, Christy, Hannah, and everyone who participated in the open mic. I would like to once again thank the faculty for everything they do for this program and us. And right now, the next Word Circus is tentatively scheduled for Sunday, October 19th, here in the Mellon Living Room, same time. And you'll probably get an email reminder. Sign up if you didn't. Yeah, thank you all for being here tonight.
Goodbye, zero live stream watchers.
No, but this is good because